Today is the continuation of a new series, and I believe it will be one of my most exciting video series to date. In this video and in this series, I'm researching some epic basketball stories about some of the greatest players of all time. I'll do my best to research these stories to figure out what specific games they're talking about, and I'll do my best to inform you guys on the details of the event. Today, I have a story from the great Shaquille O'Neal that he actually tells about himself. Take a listen.
That night, it was my birthday. 2000, Ernie, because of this gentleman over here, D. Scott, I was a party throwing fool. And we had a party. So, usually I go home.
Before or after the game?
No, after the game. I broke all my rituals. My ritual consisted of, after shoot around, go home, eat 2 turkey club sandwiches with extra mayo and a Diet Coke. Big party, so usually I go home, eat lunch, take a nap, get ready for the game, but we playing against the great Keith Kloss and the LA Clippers. We always manhandled and beat them, so that day I said, you know what, since I got a party tonight, I'm gonna let Rick Fox and Kobe and those guys take over. Got the Bentley, I got my suit, so I'm gonna go, foul shave, we're gonna beat them. So, if you know what foul shave is?
No.
Oh, what's that? Foul shave is when you get in the game, you get 2 quick fouls so you can sit down. Right? So, I was no foul shave. I wasn't gonna even play this game. I was gonna get 3, 4 quick fouls. I wasn't gonna do nothing. We get out there and they killing us. Now everybody looking at me. Barbecue chicken alert. Barbecue chicken alert, Ernie, I'm going. So now I got to play, I didn't get my nap, I'm getting tired, so I'm just scoring, so.
Why are you tired?
Because I didn't take a nap, and I'm out all day, I'm out, calling people, going to the mall, getting the jury. I look over to the bench, and I see one of my idols telling Keith Kloss how to stop me. I see Kareem saying, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Now I'm pissed. Kareem, Laker, so I'm like, give me the ball. I'm like, man, I can get 40. So I got 40, right? I was like, man, I can get 50. So now that I got 50, guys are like, go get 60, go get 60. I'm actually kind of upset at Phil because I think we had like 5 minutes left and he took me out. I think I could have went for 70 or possibly 80 for that game. Phil took me out. So I think he did that because he didn't want me to score more than Mike. That's what I think.
As always, Shaq displayed why he's so likable off the court, as his telling of this story was rather hilarious. But just how accurate was it? Let's start by figuring out what game this was. I'm not gonna lie, this one was super easy to find. For one, Shaq says that the game was played on his birthday, while he was on the Lakers. And he says that it was against the Los Angeles Clippers. In Shaq's career with the Lakers, he only played 4 times on his birthday, and only one of those games were against the Clippers, which tells me that I found the one contest that he was talking about. It took place on March 6th of the year 2000. As Shaq humorously alluded to, this was not a colossal battle between 2 contending teams, but rather it was a matchup that the Lakers were fully expected to dominate. Not only were the Lakers expected to win, but I could argue that this was one of the most heavily favored matchups in NBA history. For one, the Lakers had the best record in the entire league at 49-11, while the Clippers had the worst record in the league at 12-47. The Lakers were on a 15-game winning streak and were looking to extend it to 16. While the Clippers were stumbling over their own feet as they had lost 25 out of their last 27 games. On top of that, Shaq was approaching the end of his MVP campaign, and he especially loved playing against the Clippers. Leading up to that night, in his 3 regular season games against the Clippers that year, he was averaging a whopping 33 points and 18 rebounds. Now, it was his birthday, and the Diesel assumed his Lakers would cruise to yet another victory. Now here's an interesting detail. In Shaq's story, he says that they were in a matchup with Keith Kloss and the Clippers. Now Keith was in his 3rd season of the NBA, and he had an underwhelming start to his career, to say the least. At this point, Keith was a 23-year-old center who was 7 foot 3 inches tall, but unfortunately, he didn't have much to his game beyond size, and on the year, he was averaging only 3 points and 2 rebounds in just 12 minutes per game. Now here's the funny part. Keith Kloss didn't even play in this game due to an injury. That's right, Shaq roasted this guy and said that he was motivated by the fact that Kareem was giving him tips on how to defend the Diesel, and yet that couldn't have possibly happened because he didn't even play in that game. I do think there's a somewhat reasonable explanation for this though, so let's press on and I'll get to that. Now, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did actually work as an assistant coach for the Clippers at this point, and his specific role was to help develop the young centers on the roster, and this information will be vital to remember in a bit. Now, when the game actually started, the Lakers looked sloppy and sluggish to say the least, which kind of makes sense since they were on the second night of a back-to-back, and based on Shaq's attitude, they were taking this inferior Clippers team for granted. Shaq wasn't yet having a big game offensively, but he was applying the pressure on the interior, which was resulting in the Clippers' bigs getting in foul trouble. The starting center who was assigned to guard Shaq was the second-year 7-footer Michael Olowokandi, who was a decent player and at least had some size to challenge Shaq. But with just under 8 minutes left to go in the first quarter, Michael received his third personal foul and had to be rushed to the bench for the foreseeable future. With a 7'3" Keith Kloss out with an injury, and with a 7-foot Michael Olowokandi in foul trouble, one of the only quote big men available to defend Shaq was the 6'9" power forward Anthony Avent. This was a subpar player who was averaging barely over 1 point and 1 rebound that season in 7 minutes per game. As a 6'9" power forward with typically limited minutes, he probably never thought he would have the assignment of containing the 7'1", 330-pound Shaquille O'Neal in his prime MVP season. But alas, here he was. Now understand the moment before I make my next point. At the time Michael goes out and Anthony subs in, there's just under 8 minutes left in the first, and the Clippers are beating the Lakers 13-4. As Shaq described in his story, they're getting killed by the Clippers, when allegedly Shaq looks over to the Clippers bench and sees Kareem giving advice to Keith Kloss on how to defend Shaq. But again, Keith wasn't playing. So what I actually think happened is that it was at this moment where Shaq saw Kareem giving advice to the 6'9" Anthony Avent on how to defend him. This makes total sense considering how it lines up with the story. Anthony probably had little to no experience defending Shaq, and considering how Shaq immediately becomes extremely aggressive after this substitution, as if he's very pissed off. The action now resumes with Anthony on an angry O'Neal. Less than a minute later, Shaq immediately goes to work and hits the first field goal over the outstretched arm of his 6'9" defender. A minute and a half later, Shaq catches the ball in deep and scores this finger roll that Avent was helpless to defend. The very next play, Shaq swats Lamar Odom's shot, he secures the rebound, leads the fast break, and ends the play heading to the free throw line. Just from simply watching the game, you could see how his energy shifted with rageful intent. By the end of the first quarter, Shaq had 10 points and 5 rebounds, but the Clippers still had a 5-point lead. But the damage was only getting started. This game turned into one of the ultimate examples of how Shaq's dominance affected opposing teams. Into the second quarter, and now Avent has his third personal foul. So the Clippers had to put another power forward on Shaq, the 6'10" Peter Chilcutt. But of course, Shaq goes on to dominate him, and now he's in foul trouble as well. At halftime, basically anyone who was ever in the vicinity of Shaquille O'Neal was now in foul trouble. After 2 quarters, Michael Olowokandi, Anthony Avent, Peter Chilcutt, and Lamar Odom each had 3 personal fouls, and Shaq simply had 26 points and 11 rebounds on 9 of 14 shooting. And that was his worst half. The Lakers were entering the third quarter with a 1-point lead, and now, with a bunch of cautious defenders in foul trouble, Shaq was really ready to blow this thing open. It was full-on bully ball time for O'Neal, as the third quarter turned into an absolute dunk fest for the Lakers superstar. Despite the Clippers' bigs trying to play cautiously, the Diesel still forced them into further foul trouble, as Olowokandi picked up his 4th, Odom picked up his 4th, and Peter Chilcutt picked up his 5th, all in the third quarter. Through 3 quarters, the Lakers were up by 12, and Shaq had 42 points and 16 rebounds on 16 of 23 shooting. But despite the outcome starting to become obvious, the big man still wasn't done. Now, a very desperate Clippers team put their 6'9" small forward / power forward Maurice Taylor on Shaq. And in the fourth, he quickly picked up his 3rd, 4th, and 5th foul. Also, Olowokandi picked up his 5th, Lamar Odom picked up his 5th, and Peter Chilcutt fouled out. By the halfway point of the fourth, the game was a complete blowout. What was supposed to be a road crowd was now completely electric in favor of the Lakers. Lob passes, thunderous slams, and and-one plays were happening basically every time down the court. Shaq was now sitting at 59 points. And then, with just over 3 minutes left in the game, one of my favorite sequences in basketball history took place. The Lakers get an offensive rebound off of the Shaq miss. Then, after Kobe gets the ball on the perimeter, he drives and unselfishly passes up an open layup so Shaq can score his 61st point on his birthday. The Lakers then get a stop, Shaq gets the rebound and takes it into the front court before he throws this iconic lob to Kobe Bryant. The building erupts in excitement, and Shaq and Kobe share a moment that pretty much sums up their championship seasons in Los Angeles. A couple plays later, the Lakers intentionally foul to allow Shaq to leave the game. He went to the bench with 2 minutes and 35 seconds left in the game and with a 20-point lead, as the Staples Center crowd gave him a standing ovation. At the end of the night, Shaq had a whopping career high of 61 points, 23 rebounds, and 3 assists on 24 of 35 shooting, and the Lakers extended their winning streak to 16 games, with a final score of 123-103. Ultimately, it was an amazing night for Shaq, but unlike several guys in the series so far, he wasn't the most accurate storyteller. For one, Keith Kloss didn't even play in this game, which is the guy he made it seem like he was destroying. And second, Phil Jackson didn't take him out with 5 minutes left to play to prevent him from scoring more than Michael Jordan, but he took him out with 2.5 minutes left to play when they had a 20-point lead over the worst team in the league. Regardless, I'm glad Shaq told the story the way he did, because that's way funnier than my version that obsesses over the details. So what do you guys think? What is a story that I should cover in this series? If you've suggested it before, keep suggesting it, and I'll try my best to get to it eventually. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.